it's weird. 8-week, these 8-week classes they're like, so, and then this next, oh boy, this
Are you in the business class?
Yes.
Okay.
I think everybody's in I think you're all coming
You
back
too?
for the business class.
Yep.
All right.
So,
I'll see y'all later.
Nathan is in there too, so.
Are we staying in this classroom?
This one or that one.
Okay.
I like this one because I know I'm comfortable with the computer. So, this next cycle I teach advanced choral conducting in 8 weeks.
Wow.
So 2
That'd be
hours,
lots of fun.
2 hours. I'm thinking, what shall I cut out? So, all right, who'd like to open in prayer? Going once, going twice. Somebody want to pray?
Sure.
Okay.
Father, we thank you for this time we can spend together. Thank you for your mercy, for your love. That we don't deserve to be alive, much less experiencing this blessing of this class. Help us to get as much as we can out of it, so we can use this information to reach others with the talents that you've given us, and we can give them a blessing in your name. It's your name we pray. Amen.
Good, thank you. All right. Let's see, assignment 7 is well, now it's overdue, and I think half the classes turned it in, so I need like half the class have turned it in. And then assignment 8 is coming up here. Assignment 8 has 2 parts. You're going to write your marketing goals. Make your goals specific. Okay, a goal. Give me an example of a specific goal.
I'm going to call 5 people about a gig this week.
Put a date on it.
Yeah.
By the
first
March.
day of
Right,
next week.
okay. So it's specific, it's got a set time frame. The goal has to be measurable. And the reason you need to set goals is because if you don't set goals, you don't know if you're meeting them. I know that sounds like a ridiculous statement, but I'll go back to my wife's business. We just finished the month of February, and there were a series of things that I set goals for, and we were over on some of them, under on some of them, but we could see what we were. But ultimately it was how much net product are you selling a day. That was the primary goal. Everything pointed to that. And we were within 55 cents of the daily goal. We were 55 cents over. And I said to her, she said, that was a tough month. And I said, yeah, but you met the goals. And she said, well, I had to. They became the thing that drove. It wasn't the business, it was the goals that drove her. So she stopped focusing on the pile of junk over here. She stopped focusing on what should I do, where can I put this storage stuff, or what she focused on was the actual stuff that produced results ultimately in a business. So if your goal is to write songs, then your goal is, I will write a new song every week. By Sunday evening, I will finish it. That's your goal, is to write songs. But my guess is that your goal isn't to write songs, in your case. Okay, or your case. Or even in your case.
It kind of is.
Your goal, but you don't need to market it if that's all you're going to do is write songs. If my goal were to write songs, I don't need YouTube to do that. Your goal is to touch the world with your music. That's your that's your modus operandi. That's the thing that drives you. And so you want to take that and say, okay, what activities occur when I know I'm doing that?
Small manageable tasks that will get you to that goal.
Exactly, that's exactly what it is. So you want to ask yourself, and that's why I said right at the beginning, right? You're basically, why is it that you want to do what you're doing? and then get it down to a mission statement, one sentence, right? Talked about mission statements. The reason is because that should be what drives you. Okay? So if your mission statement, do you remember what your mission statement is?
I'd have to think about it for a second.
Yeah. And you guys remember your mission statement?
In short, it's like encourage, empower, enlighten.
Okay.
goal.
That's really general.
Yeah, that's just what I remember.
Yeah, part of it. I remember part of it. Okay, and what is Calvary's mission statement? To reach the church in the world?
Yeah. No, to preparing students
Preparing
to
students
serve in
to
the
serve.
church and the world according to the biblical
To,
worldview.
exactly. Okay, so there is our mission statement.
Yeah.
That says it pretty much. So our goal isn't just to teach students, is it? Okay? It's to teach and prepare students to serve the church and the world. But is it just to serve them? No, it's to serve them in the biblical, and that is a loaded statement, the biblical worldview, which says that we also own the biblical worldview. I mean, that is such a loaded mission statement, and it's all there. Now,
Yeah.
from that mission, the mission statement isn't a goal. That's a mission statement.
Sure.
And what we can do is then take that mission statement and tease it apart into the individual little bits and say, what is it that what are our goals attached to this mission statement? What are goals that Calvary would have attached to their mission statement?
Know the biblical worldview.
Okay, that isn't a goal.
No? What is it?
It's part of the mission statement,
Okay.
obviously. But let's call a goal something that's specific and measurable.
Okay.
Teach students. How about teaching students?
Oh yeah.
How about students?
Sure. Have students hold classes. You can measure how many students you have.
Absolutely.
How many classes take place.
How many students? How many students go to Calvary right now?
I don't know.
Okay, about
20, 430 or 20.
yeah, 420, 430. And the goal is to increase that maybe 20% a year. So maybe they're looking for 475 in the fall.
Yeah.
That's a goal. Now, when you have a goal like that, then you know if you met it or not. So getting more students is not a goal. It's a goal, but it's a squishy goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to get more students. There's nothing measurable about that. But if I want to grow the student population from 420 to 475, then that goal is drives activity. What is the activities that goal drives?
Recruiting, admissions,
Recruiting. I have to hire people for admissions. I have to budget money towards admissions.
advertising.
People have to have advertising. I have to budget some money towards advertising. How about retention?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we have to retain the students we have.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to have somebody keeping track of retention, right? So it's not just getting new students in, it's getting new students in and keeping new students. Okay, and how do we do that? By providing something that students want. So we have to, part of retention is figuring out, okay, so retention, well, give me a goal for retention, something measurable.
How many students that enrolled here graduated here? That kind of thing.
Okay, it could be like that, or how many students stay year after year, where we want to maintain every year 80% of the student body. Now,
Okay.
attrition in universities is horrendous.
What is attrition?
Attrition is people leaving before they finish their
Oh.
degrees. Very high. Our retention is actually higher than the average school. Like we have actually pretty good retention. But
What's the percentage when you compare our school to an average school? I'm
well, a
just curious.
typical school will have like 60% retention, 55 to 60%. It's horrible.
Wow.
So that means that people are coming in, spending their bucks, and leaving. 40% of the population leaves before they're done. In my music theory class, because you've all had music theory, and I know I've told you this before, my music theory class started with something north of 173 or 174 students. It's a
Mhm.
2-year program. Music Theory 1, Music Theory 2, Music Theory 3, Music Theory 4, over a 4-year program, or a
Mhm.
2-year program.
This was when you were in school or when you were teaching
When I was
here?
in school, when I
Okay.
was in school. It was just like the theory here. As a matter of fact, we used Benward, the original Benward. We had Xeroxes of it. We were getting the manuscript directly from Benward before it was published.
Wow.
So we were one of the test schools for that. Now, we started with 107, I remember at the first test, we had 172 or 173 kids left. Okay, and we started with 180, I guess. And by the end of the second semester of the second year, there were 44 students left. Now that attrition is horrible. That means that we had less than 30% of the students that started finished
Wow.
over a 2-year program through the theory.
Mm.
Okay, that's horrendous retention. Our retention in the past, I don't know what it is this year, our retention in the past has run 80%, which is very, very high. I don't think it's that high now. It's probably 70%, 65,
Why not
70.
just the fact of the schools are bigger, they have more students, they're more likely to lose students? And do you think maybe that's the reason why we're starting to lose more students now, is because we're growing?
It could be, but there isn't anything magic about, what it does do is it changes your interaction with your peer group. So when we had 267 students, which is where we were at the bottom, 267 students, everybody knew each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Now we have 420 or 430 students
Yeah.
all over the place, and we don't have the same kind of connections that we did before. Now you're here on the ground, you have connection. The other problem, I think there's multiple problems that we face as far as retention moving forward. And that's why you have somebody in charge of retention, and we have somebody in charge of retention here at the school. It's when kids get, like for instance, I'm teaching another class where I have a particular online student who's just not getting traction of what's going on. And they're not, and it's not just that student, students in general, me included, it's tough for a student to do an online class.
Oh yeah.
Especially particular ones.
Yep, and it's easy to hide,
Yes.
and then when it's all said and done, you flunk the class, or you get a C, or you didn't learn anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the problem too. So but our retention is actually pretty good relative to everything else that's going on. So, so specifics, as you write assignment 8, you need to be writing specific goals. And what do you write specific goals against? Assignment 7. Remember, assignment 7, which is your marketing strategies, you're going to write goals about those marketing strategies. Ultimately, your mission statement drives everything else. So this is what I want to do. This is how I'm going to do it. And this measurement, these goals, are how I figure out whether or not I'm successful in what I'm doing. Does that make sense? Don't write from the goals up. Don't write your goals first. You write your goals last. Otherwise, all you're going to do is do self-fulfilling goals, right? I could write a goal like, well, I'm going to write 5 songs a month. Okay, but what does that do? That doesn't get me anywhere. It just means that I'll have 5 songs at the end of the month. But if I'm writing, if my mission statement is, I want to touch the world with my music for Christ, then I can start to produce things that I can start to do marketing ideas that help me meet that mission statement, and then I can set goals to know that my marketing is working. There's no reason to spin your wheels if it isn't working. Now, actually, I had a conversation with my wife. We now have, we picked up a bunch of inventory for her business. And we have enough inventory to keep her going for 2 years. Matter of fact, we're getting ready to, I think, to do an episode of Hoarders. And it's driving her crazy. And so I sat her down over the weekend and I said, look, you now know that what is happening works. There's no magic. There's absolutely no magic in goal setting. I said, we've set goals, you've met the goals have produced exactly what we wanted it to produce. And she goes, yeah, she's a believer now. Before she was, no, that's not gonna work. There's no way we're gonna go from 1,000 in sales to 3,000 in sales in 2 months or 3 months. That's exactly what we did. He said, no, that's not gonna work. Well, we did it. She saw it and she goes, oh. And then I stopped and I said, okay, here we are, March 1st. I said, do you want to continue to do this? And she said, it's hard. I said, yeah, I know it's hard. I know it's hard, but that's how it works. And I said, once you get to this level, if you want to do this much business, you have to go, because right now she has 600 items listed. I said, you have to get to 1,000 items and probably end up at 1,200. That's probably where you need. So you're going to have to double the number of items you have listed. And she said, I'd like to get there, but I don't think I want to get there as fast as what we've been projecting. Okay, so you pull it back. So, and all that to say is her mission statement for her business hasn't changed. Her marketing strategies haven't changed. Her goals have. You see, so she doesn't have to go back and reinvent anything. Am I making sense? Her mission statement hasn't changed. Her marketing strategies haven't changed. Her goals have. So her goals, instead of listing 160 things in the month of March, because there's spring break, she said, I think I'm going to be fine just listing 100 things. I said, okay, let's set that as a goal. We set the goal. Now this will happen, this will happen, this will happen, and this will happen. Now what I did was I took pressure off of her. Not that I put pressure on her, but we give ourselves permission to do things. And so the point I made to her was, you don't have to maintain this pace if it starts to impact other areas of your life in a negative way. And so she knows she could list 160 items over the course of the next 30 days. She knows she can do that. She has no doubt, she just did it. Okay? So she knows she can do that. But if she does that, then what we're doing, what she and I are doing for spring break, is listing items on eBay, which I've already told her that wouldn't be my choice if I had a choice. Now, I love her, I support what she's doing, I support her business, and if she says, I want to get to 160 things by April 1st, then I'm going to help her do it. And I'll spend my break doing that, because I'm letting her set the goals. But she's saying, I think I'd rather go to New Orleans or San Antonio and go spend 5 days there or whatever. Okay, well if we do that, that cuts into our days for listing. So I said, why don't you figure out how much you want to list a day? She goes, I want to do 5 things a day. And sure enough, here we are on March 3rd. She's been doing 5 things a day for the first 2 days, and she's back on track listing. And again, I'm not setting her goals. I'm not putting pressure on her to do it. I'm not telling her she has to have a business. I told her she could stop doing the business. I said, you want to keep doing this? She said, yes. I said, you enjoy it? She said, I love it. The phone goes cha-ching whenever she sells something on eBay. It goes cha-ching. It's like a little marketing drug. Cha-ching. Heroin. Cha-ching.
Exactly.
Heroin. That's what it's like. So, and it really charges her up, and she loves it. So I said, okay, whatever, I support you in what you're doing. She supported me for our whole marriage. She's been a wonderful wife. And I'm trying to be as wonderful a husband as I can to her. I'm an awful husband. She's a wonderful wife. So she says, I want to do 5 a day. Okay, great. And she goes, I'm not sure I want to list while we're out of town. Okay, fine. So we're modifying the goals for March. Now, what I did by asking her those questions is what?
Assessing her willingness. You're assessing where she wants to move. You're no.
Well, her psyche.
This may not be what you're looking for, but you are, it's like, not that you ever had power over her, but in a way like you are allowing her to have control over her situation. She's the one who's in power of that, and when she feels that power, I think there's a lot less pressure to move in a direction that is not fulfilling to her personally.
Yeah, exactly. And now that's always been the case.
Yeah.
I have to keep reminding her.
Mm-hmm.
But now, if she feels she's in control and she's making different decisions or different goals for this month, what else does that do for her?
Gives her clarity of direction.
Okay, clarity of direction, and it allows her not to feel guilty for not listing 160 things. Which her personality is, if I don't list 160 things, I failed. Because she has, I call it, we're all born with original sin. She was raised a Catholic, I call it original guilt.
Oh yeah.
She has original guilt. And so she's driven, if I don't rein her in, she will be driven by guilt. Okay? I don't know if that resonates with anybody
Yes.
other than Grace. And obviously it resonates with Grace. Okay. So, because I can tell on your face. So the last thing I want her to do is to feel guilt for not doing something. And when I talk about permission, we give ourselves permission to do things. So when I set a goal, and I say, this is my goal, I want to do this and this and this, I want to make sure that goal is doable. Because if it's too high, if I'm setting it too high, and I set myself up for certain failure, then even if I do well, I still feel like I failed. But she already had a goal in place. For March, it was because we have long-term goals. For March, she said she was going to do 160. But she looked at it, she looked at the successful February she just had. She's looking at February and going, I successfully did what I set out to do in February. Huh. And then I gave her permission. I didn't give her real permission. I gave her the ability to give herself permission by adjusting her goals so that she wouldn't put so much pressure on herself and doom herself to failure because we've got 10 days off for spring break at the end of the month, the last third of the month. Okay, so you do the same thing. So make your goals measurable, but always be assessing what you're doing. And if something's not working, change it. Right? None of this stuff is written in stone. You may decide, I'm going to sell shells. I'm going to sell carved shells. And you're going to set up some goals. You have your mission statement, you have your marketing plan, you set up some goals. And in the course of this, you meet someone who is a fellow artiste who is doing something similar to you're doing, but they're not using shells, they're using pottery or something else. And you all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, maybe over the course of a few months and working with this person, you decide, this is cool. This is a cool process. And so I don't want to just limit myself to shells. I see myself now as a sculptor. And I'm going to change my focus from being so focused on shells to, and you might even amend your mission statement. And your marketing statement may stay the same, but your mission statement may change because now it's no longer about shells, it's about pottery or whatever. You're going to do Indian style pots. And you're going to get a kiln, and you're going to do all this stuff. And you're going to, and then you get an account with Macy's, and now your goals are, you still have your mission statement, but now your goals are produce 17,000 pots a month for Macy's, and you have to go hire a crew, and right? So you need to be able to adjust as you're moving through this stuff. Okay? So, but it's the goals that will drive your success. Make them measurable, make them bite-sized, so you can attack this stuff. And general goals get you practically nowhere. They just make you end up feeling guilty. Specific goals, I will make 5 calls 3 times a week to area churches to set up gigs. That's a goal. And you say, okay, I'm going to do it on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, because that's when I have time. And every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, you know, oh, I've got to make 5 calls today. You don't have to worry about the calls 2 weeks from now, a month from now. You're just going to do the 5 calls today. You get the 5 calls done, you're done, you can go on with your life. Right? That goal has been met. That's how it works. Questions? So, assignment 8, goals. Yeah?
Yeah, there's a. I'm seeing 2 different types of goals in your description. There's the one that is just, I will do thus and so, and okay, I did it, goal met.
Objectives. Maybe we call those objectives.
Okay. And the other is, I will make this many sales, which is partially dependent on your effort and partially dependent on how it plays out.
Yeah.
So,
if you say, I am going to make 5 sales a day,
yeah.
then you start to introduce some variables
Uh-huh.
that you don't have control over.
Right.
If you say, I'm going to make 5 presentations a day, you can control that.
Okay.
Okay, so I think it's a dangerous goal to say, I will book 2 churches for my gigs every week.
Uh-huh.
Okay? Because you may not.
Right. It might.
And it's not dependent on you, it's dependent on the churches.
Yeah.
But what is dependent on you, and what you'll find is that as you do this, you're going to find, if I call 10 churches, one of them will book me.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Well, if that's the case and you want two gigs a week,
Then you should call
then you
20.
call 20 churches,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And law of averages, you might not get 2 gigs this week, but you might get 0 this week, but you'll end up getting 4 next week.
Maybe.
Okay. I had a conversation with a guy that was working for Edward D. Jones, I remember, right after I became the worship pastor at Word of Grace. A guy came into my office and said, do you do any business in stocks and bonds? And I said, oh. I said, I used to be a broker. I do all my own stuff. And he said, oh, okay. And I said, well, tell me about your business. He told me about it. And he said, I really want to open more accounts. And I said, well, what are you doing now? And he said, well, I do a seminar every other week, and I'm opening 3 accounts a month. I said, oh, well, how many accounts do you want to open? And he said, well, I'd like to open 4 times as many accounts.
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh, I can help you with that. I know exactly what to do. He goes, really? Yeah, I can help you quadruple your accounts. And he goes, really? How? And you know what I told him? What did I tell him?
Quadruple your presentations for our
That's
candidates?
what I told him.
Oh.
And he looked at me like I gave him the keys to the kingdom. I said, it's real simple. You're doing 1 seminar every other week, and you're opening up 3 accounts, and you want to open up 12 accounts, do 4 seminars. I said, do 2 seminars a week. And he goes, I said, look, it's a numbers game. He left. He came by about 3 months later and he said, you're right. I said, it's a numbers game. And he went on to be very, very successful.
Cool.
I love how you just like randomly change people's lives.
No, I didn't know. All I did, it was so obvious, but you miss it when you're in the midst of it. You're thinking, oh, I'm doing a seminar every other week. What more can I do? We do 4 seminars every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
which is what I did, by the way, when I was building my business. I did 2 seminars a week. So, so 2 parts, assignment 8, write your specific marketing goals, make them clear, measurable, and the deadlines in which to complete them, and do a full set of goals. And then part 2 is assemble your marketing plan. You're going to assemble everything we've worked together into a single plan, and you'll probably need to add some stuff to it and look it over. Make sure there's distinct sections so you know, okay, this is this part, this is this part, this is this part. I've already told you that I added a document, 10 key components of a marketing plan, on the Files tab in Canvas. You can do 10 sections in your marketing plan. You don't need to. You only need 4 sections. You need situation analysis, marketing strategy, and this is all in Canvas if you pull up the assignment 8, goals, and expense budget. The situation analysis was what we covered in assignments 1 and 3. The marketing strategy is what we had covered in assignments 2, 4, 5, and 7. The goals is assignment 8, and expense budget was assignment 6. So the stuff we covered and what you've already done in assignments are the things that go into your marketing plan. Now, you don't really have to add it. Once you complete all 8 assignments, that could easily become your marketing plan. But I think once you look at it and you read through it, you might decide you want to add a few more things to it. Okay? Any questions about your assignment?
Yeah.
Yes.
How do we organize the goals? Do you want daily, weekly, monthly? How many goals do we need? That kind of thing. What's the goals for the goals?
Goals for the goals are things that'll work for you.
All right.
Okay?
All right.
Things that'll work for you. At this point, I'm guessing that you're going to go, well, really, to make this work. Now, and you may, and I'm giving you permission, you need to do the assignment.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
class.
Sure.
But I'm giving you permission to not follow it. You don't have to follow a marketing plan. You don't even have to market what it is that you're working on.
Sure.
You don't have to, music, songs. Yeah, you don't have to. Shells. You don't have to. Technology company. You don't have to do any of that. You're in school. Enjoy life. Go out to whatever. What's that? Raising Cane's. Go eat your fried chicken, nasty stuff. Been there once. Been there once. Probably won't go there again. Anyway, I know you guys love it. I think it tastes like fried chicken, kind of. But so you go do your Raising Cane's, have fun, enjoy this time of your life, and at some point you're going to graduate. You're going to wake up the next day and go, I have to do something now. The easy way is to go down and get a job fulfilling shipments at Amazon. There's an Amazon place or UPS, and you go work in a warehouse, you put people's junk in a box, tape it up, mail it out, mindless, and then go home and watch Oprah or whatever TV show you watch at night. That's fine. It's your life. Congratulations, you won the lottery. You do understand you won the lottery.
Sorry?
Yeah, you do understand you won the lottery.
I did?
Yes. The
When?
biggest lottery in the universe, you've already won.
Oh, you mean receiving Christ?
That's not a lottery.
That's a different lottery.
This comes before receiving Christ.
Being alive?
Being born.
Okay.
Okay, do you realize that the gleam in your father's eye and your mother, first of all, between your father and your mother, there were millions of possibilities for children. Do you understand that? You understand how it all works, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys have plumbing class here yet?
Excuse me?
Human plumbing class?
What?
Okay, you've had that, right? You
Had it in
understand
high
how
school.
everything works. I'm just checking. Okay, you had it in high school. Good. Actually, all you have to do is turn on TV now and watch anything. The point is this. You are here and not a different sperm and egg combination. Do you understand the chances of you being here are infinitesimally small, not infinitesimally small, are dramatically small. The fact that you're here is much better odds than anything else you could have won. Okay, so you're here. You already got it. You won. You can coast, and I'm not going to think less of you if you decide to go work in a factory. That's fine. You can coast, or you can go for it and pursue what it is that makes you scratch your itch, or whatever that is. Whatever it is that motivates you, go for it. You really don't have anything really to lose. You think you do, but you don't. You really don't have a lot to lose at this point. If you are married and you have 6 kids, if you're married and you have 6 kids and you're 42 years old and you leave your job to drive across the country to go do a doctorate, then you have stuff you can lose. Okay?
Sure.
I'm telling you, at this point in your lives, you have not a lot to lose. Okay? Go for it. That's all I'm saying. Right? You already won the lottery, but do the plan, finish it off, hand it in, get your grade, go on with life. But now you have a marketing plan. Now you have something that you've already gone through and it applies to everything. You can always go back to that marketing plan. You can always change it. You can always do an eBay business. You can always decide you're going to teach guitar lessons. You can always do a different something than what it is you did your marketing plan on. But understand that the process of doing a marketing plan is the same whatever you decide to do. Right? So now you understand kind of what's involved. So do the marketing plan. Turn it in, and the marketing plan is due, we said, I thought I made it the 8th. Yes, I made it the 8th. And the 8th is?
Sunday. Saturday.
That's 5 days from now.
So this is the 3rd. 4th is Wednesday. 5th is Thursday. 6th
Wednesday.
is Friday. 7th is Saturday. 8th is Sunday, is that right?
It's 8th is
It's
Sunday.
Sunday.
8th is Sunday. Okay, turn it in by Sunday. That's assignment 8. And no late stuff on this. Get it to me by midnight on Sunday.
The marketing plan and goals.
Goals, that's assignment 8. It's in Canvas. And then your whole marketing plan, everything put together. Now the marketing plan, put it together. Maybe make a sheet that goes between each section, so I know you're thinking about it in sections. Put the marketing plan together. Just send me a Word file, a Word doc. That's fine. That's all I need for that. Okay?
You want the whole thing in one Word doc?
Yes, the marketing plan is in one Word doc.
Okay.
Assignment 8 is separate.
Okay, gotcha.
And anyway, so questions. I'm excited for you guys because I wish somebody told me this when I was your age. I had to figure it out. So, all right, let's go on. Building relationships with Twitter. A conservative guy a conservative billionaire just bought into Twitter, and he's talking about firing the current CEO so that they stop throttling what people are saying on Twitter. Because right now, Twitter, if you're conservative, they kick you off of Twitter.
No way.
So anyway, they got a billionaire conservative guy just bought into Twitter, and he's going to stop that nonsense.
Cool.
And what he's saying is that he's not going to stop anybody from saying what they want to say.
Wow.
It's called free speech. So
Yeah.
Twitter is like a party. It's about to become a bigger party. Use an animated GIF or GIF. If you say GIF, it's GIF. What do you say, GIF or GIF?
What do I say?
I always called
You
it
say
a GIF.
He says I
Yeah.
say GIF.
I call it a GIF.
This is not
A GIF,
peanut
okay.
butter, it's a GIF.
It's a GIF.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
a GIF.
great.
Okay, so use an animated GIF, like whatever, so that you draw people's attention to your post. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Am I making sense?
Yeah.
An animated, so when somebody clicks, you've got a little something going on that's moving, draws people's eyes to your post. Don't spam people. Get friends. Get the right friends. Right? There's some people out there you don't want as friends.
Sure.
Be yourself, and read Chapter 31 on building your relationships with Twitter. Okay. Chapter 32 talks about other social media sites, and I'm not going to go into that. But 32 is, this is my book. I've had this for probably just a little longer than you have, and it's already starting to get dog-eared, and I keep referring back to it. It's a great book.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's an awful book, great information.
Great resource.
Yeah, great resource. I would keep, if I were doing what you're about to do, I would refer back to this book over and over and over again. And it's well indexed in the front, okay? And keep that on a shelf someplace where you can access it. Okay, live shows. Did we talk much about live shows?
A little bit.
Okay.
You mentioned.
Stop me if I've already said this. You need live shows. Okay, a live show is what? Define live show for me.
Live somewhere.
Okay, live somewhere. And that for us, where does that tend to be?
Church, Christian school, coffee shop, backyard, house.
Could be a house, maybe a festival, city festival.
Christian
Belton
University.
Days, yeah. Christian University. What we were talking about?
Youth group,
Youth groups.
college group.
Yeah, Bill Bright.
Who?
Bill Bright. What's the Christian organization? The parachurch.
Navigators?
Not Navigators, the other one. Bill Bright, the one Bill Bright
I
said.
don't know
Campus
Bill
Crusade.
Bright.
Crew.
Campus Crusade.
Yeah.
Crew.
Crew. Yeah, that's Bill Bright. Okay. You need to do a great show. If you're going to do this, do a great show. Rehearse it, rehearse it, rehearse it, so that you don't go in and flub it. Do a great show.
Yeah.
Be ready for anything to happen. Be thoroughly prepared. We've gone to do. I've been with groups that have gone to do shows. As a matter of fact, Evidence went one time to a place to do a show, and we got there. We told them everything we needed, and somehow they didn't connect the fact that amplifiers have to be plugged in. So they scheduled the show in a park where there was no electrical service.
Well,
Yeah.
so what did you all do?
We didn't do the show.
Oh,
Instead, we did something else, but that was all right. We did some a cappella stuff, and
yeah.
we still did a show. I mean, we did a show, but we didn't do the show we planned. So be ready. You never know what's going to happen. Give it your all. Word will get around. If you give everything to your shows, the word will get around, and people will want to see you perform. Try to have somebody you trust at each show to give you feedback. Okay, take your homie with you that's sitting out there, and they're going, "Hey, man, that was great. If this is really better than this show, or there was a downtime here, you need to check that." You need to talk when you're doing a show. People don't just want your music. We're going to talk about music specifically because we're talking about shows, but it could be, whatever, an arts and crafts thing. Okay, people want to hear you talk because they want to have a relationship with you. Okay, it's more than just your music or your craft. They want to have a relationship with you. When you talk, you share personal anecdotes, you share stories, you share your testimony. That all resonates with people. Okay, they see that you're a real person, a real human being. They want to connect. Okay? Be sure that you know what you're going to say before you say it. Do not do like Joe Biden did last night when he said, "You know what the beginning of the Constitution says," and then right in the middle of it he stopped talking. Okay?
What? So he forgot what he was going to say, or?
If we forgot what.
I don't know if he forgot or he realizes that we're created. We're the thing about inalienable rights and our creator, and he
Yeah.
realized
Rights.
I'm talking to a bunch of left-wing liberals. I can't talk about the creator. And he stopped in the middle of the sentence, and you could see it. And if people think that he lost his train of thought. I think he
Didn't wanna
just
say the word
realized he
creator.
couldn't say
Oh.
creator in front of the group.
Wow.
So anyway, I don't know for sure. I'll have to ask him the next time I see him.
So
Okay,
6
but-
degrees of separation, right?
So know what you are going to say, don't wing it. If you're gonna tell a story, rehearse the story. Rehearse the punchlines in the story.
Can't wing it.
If you're gonna share your testimony, rehearse your testimony. And rehearse it with people. It'll sound contrived, it isn't. I don't know what you guys have done with Luke's Voce. Yeah, I do. I mean, when we started Luke's
Yeah.
Voce way back when, remember we were rehearsing testimonies? We had people talk about their, okay. So I used to do that with evidence. I would stop and say, okay, share your testimony. And the person would go and share their testimony on the spot in the rehearsal. And I did that so kids would get used to sharing it. And they would, after a while, after the 4th or 5th time you share it, you start to read where people are going to respond to it. And it becomes something that becomes part of your shtick. It's true, but that's the way it works, okay? All performers do this. When you go to see a live performance and the person up there standing there is talking about a testimony or sharing a story, they have shared that testimony or story probably 100+ times before,
Yeah.
and they're saying exactly the same thing they always say. Okay, so have that all worked out. Visuals are great. Anybody go to Austin Henry's senior recital?
Yes.
Dynamite.
That was a good
Dynamite recital. Okay? And at the end of the recital, second to the last song or whatever, he threw a video up. They had the song going on. It was he
Yeah.
and his fiancee singing, and they were running a video of them. It was fabulous. It was so, you just want to go up and give them both a hug afterwards, okay? Don't be afraid to use visual stuff in your shows. It just makes you human. If you're using a church sound guy, if you bring your own sound guy, great. If you're using a church sound guy, which is more likely, if you're traveling, you're probably not traveling with the sound person, make sure you bring an extra t-shirt for the sound guy. Okay, give him a free t-shirt. And if there's somebody else, don't hand out a bunch of free t-shirts, but if there's somebody that's been really instrumental, not the pastor, generally they're not involved in but it might be the pastor, but it's probably a secretary. The secretary's been really helpful. Say, I'd like to give you, you've been really helpful, I'd like to give you a t-shirt for all your help. But definitely the sound person, okay? Have a program that you hand out in a live gig, and the program says, this is who you are, this is your upcoming gigs, keep it updated. This is where you can, it's got a picture of you, it's got your bio, so they can take that with. It's got your website, your Twitter, your SoundCloud, all that social media stuff is on that page that you hand out. And then you got a place for them to log in and give them your, so that they can give you their email and
Zip code.
zip code.
Yeah.
Email and zip code, okay?
You said this like you have a guest list out or something like that?
Yeah, they can sign up in a book, they can, but if they don't sign up in the book, you're handing them something, they take that with, and they can go to your website, and immediately pops up, give me your email and your zip code, right? You're asking for that all the time. You're collecting that information. Keep a diary of your gigs. I don't know if you know this, but evidence, we kept a diary of every gig. I know when we did it, who we talked to, who we made the arrangements with, how many people came, what the love offering was, what songs we performed. I tracked all that stuff with evidence. Okay? I keep a performance diary. Because then when you go back to refer to that and you're looking up the information from 2 years earlier, you have your diary, you have the people you talked to. Oh, that was that guy. Oh, his name was Mac Johnson. And he had that farm out, and he said sometime he'd like to have me come and do a concert at his farm. And then you look up, and then when you walk in 2 years later to do another gig at that church, and the guy walks up and goes, "Do you remember me?" And you go, "Oh yeah, Mac Johnson." And you blow him away.
Because you wrote it down.
Because you wrote it down. Whenever I meet, or I don't do it anymore, but when I used to meet with students, when I met with all of you, and your parent or parents were with you, I wrote down your parents' names. I wrote down your names. I wrote down who you were, what you did, when you were going to graduate, I asked what church you went to. I knew who your pastor was. Okay? That was not haphazard. I was keeping a diary on you. All right? Keep track of who you meet and where you perform. Do not cancel a gig unless it's an emergency. I have sung plenty of performances ill. If you have the coronavirus, probably you want to stay home. Otherwise, you do your gig. But I mean, don't go do a gig and throw up on stage. That's not effective. Okay, so, but don't cancel unless it's an emergency. Always put out feelers for other venues. When you're in a church and you're talking to somebody, someone is bound to say, oh, I should get you at my sister's. My sister goes to a church. They'd love to have you. Great. Who's your sister? Give me your phone number and then follow up on that lead. Okay? That is a lot more effective than calling 20 people a week to get those 2 gigs. Okay? That's a cold call. When you call 20 people a week, churches you don't know, trying to get a gig, that's a cold call. A warm call is when you actually have a connection. Hi, Mary Jane. You don't know me. My name is Susie Q. I just talked to your sister, and she saw me in concert at such and such a church and said that you guys would probably want to book me for a concert. Do you want to talk to your sister first, or would you like the information from me first, or right now? Okay? That's how you get more gigs. Okay, now, some folks will share that information, some folks won't. How would you ask somebody?
How can I get in touch with so-and-so? You know?
Okay?
Yeah.
Or you go do a gig, and you go to the pastor at the end, because the pastors are all connected. You know, all the pastors, not all the pastors, many pastors meet with other pastors.
Yeah.
Okay, they have their little pastors meetings, so
Yeah.
they support each other. So you say to the pastor, this church, I really enjoyed the warm welcome I've had at this church. People were so receptive to my music. Thank you so much for hosting me. Do you know of any other churches that you're connected to that might have an interest in hosting me? Okay, and that pastor's going to say, the pastor wants to help you. You're proclaiming the gospel, I'm assuming. And the pastor will say, you know what? Yeah, here, or let me send you some information, or yeah, there's a couple churches you might want to talk to. Talk to George Jones over at the Wetchamletcha Church, and you should talk to this guy over here. Well, every time somebody gives you a name, you now have a name to drop. So when you call George Jones to see if they'll take you, instead of just calling them cold, saying, my name is Martine and I do concerts, could I come and do a concert at your church? You say, hi, Reverend Jones. Reverend Smith over at such and such a church said I should call you.
Yeah.
I just did a concert at his church. Okay, that becomes a reference.
Yeah.
You see how it works?
Yeah.
Okay, good. If you get a lead on a possible venue, follow it up. If you get a lead on a possible venue, follow it up. Oh, that was so sweet. You kids are so great. I love to hear you singing about the Lord. My brother is in a nursing home. I think the nursing home would be blessed to have you come and sing at the nursing home. Oh, great. Give me the contact information. Okay. And you get the contact information, follow it up. Okay? If somebody's willing to give you information on a venue, you better follow it up. Okay? And then and if you can, send a thank you note to the person who gave you the information. You know, you may not have their mailing address. It might be, you may not feel comfortable asking for their address, but what you can do is you can go set up the next gig and then say, wow, this was a referral from this person, and then get, so if you meet the brother in the nursing home, say, could I have your sister's mailing address? I want to send her a note to thank her for referring me to you guys because I had such a great time here and you guys really blessed me. Get a box of thank you notes, send lots of thank you notes. Obviously send a thank you note to the pastor and the secretary, or the pastor to the church. Send a thank you note to the church after they posted you. You know to do that, right?
Yeah.
Does Luke Swatches do that?
Do we send
Evidence sent a thank you note after every concert. I don't know if you guys
I don't know if we're sending thank you notes, but we thank them in person.
Okay.
We should send thank you notes though. I'll talk to Chris about it.
Shoot for regular gigs, not necessarily every week, though you probably wouldn't be sad if you had one every week. But shoot for regular gigs. A few times a month will build momentum. If you're doing 2 gigs a month, that's 24 gigs a year, you will build momentum.
Question.
Yes.
When you say regular gigs, do you mean at the same place or not necessarily?
No. You won't do it you won't do the same place more than once a year.
Oh,
Once a year is plenty of it.
at a given place.
Yeah, if you start doing gigs more often than once a year to church, they're taking advantage of you. They're trying to use you as a worship leader.
Okay.
Okay, you don't want to. No more than once. Don't get stuck in a going back to the same church over and over again. Okay.
Okay. What if it's not a church,
Once a
but
year is
another
fine.
type of-
I would say the same thing.
Okay.
Don't limit yourself.
Try to broaden out.
You want to expand, and you want to expand quickly. Okay.
Okay.
Evidence. It took me about a year to expand evidence to 60 gigs a year. 60 gigs a year between the middle of October and the end of July. Okay. So that was basically 60 gigs in about 9 months. So that's a lot of gigs. Okay. And once you do that, once you start doing a lot of gigs, you'll be in demand. There'll be momentum there. Don't be afraid to post some of your music for free. You can get people interested in it. Encourage people to fall in love with your music and then invite them to your live shows. If you go to a church, by the way, and this was happening with Evidence, and I know it happens with Luke's Fortune too. You get these Calvary groupies that happen. When we were doing Evidence concerts at a church, we would get maybe 10 or 15 kids from Calvary that would come and watch us also.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that for Luke's Witches.
Yeah, and Luke's Fortress does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So encourage that. How do you encourage it? Make sure that you're telling people on campus where you're going to be. When Luke's Fortress does a concert, I know I'm talking to the wrong people, but when Luke's Fortress does a concert, you send out a thing 2 days before saying, Luke's Fortress is going to be at this church at this time, Sunday. So, post your music, post some of your music for free to allow people to fall in love with it. You can make money off of future album sales and merchandise and stuff like that, YouTube, but get people interested in you. All shows are important. The nursing homes, they're important. A little church of 50 or 30, they're important. All shows are important. You never know who's going to be sitting in that show that can change your life. Okay? Always, every show is important. Ask churches if there are other churches they're aware of that would appreciate your music, then have them make the introduction. That's another thing you can do. If you do get in front of a large audience, listen carefully. If you get in front of a large audience, be sure to have people take pictures. Right? That person you have sitting in the audience that's telling you if you're doing a good job or not at the end of the concert, make sure they're going around with their cell phone and snapping pictures. It will become part of your marketing package. So when you're sending out your marketing package and it has a picture of you on stage sitting at a piano or standing at a microphone or standing with your guitar with your band up there, and it's from the back of the room and there's 800 people in the room, that is a great picture for marketing. How do you compose those pictures? It's simple. Go look and see what other people have done with those pictures. Does that make sense? Get online, see what other groups have done, and imitate what they're doing so that what it looks like is that you're playing for large groups of people. Okay? And then, when you do those small churches, they'll be thrilled because they know you play big churches, right? Okay. Promoting your shows, posters, send them out to venues, right? You have some made, some decent posters made. You send a few out to venues when you're going to perform. Let Calvary have Calvary up. You send a note to Abigail. Have Calvary send out your performance information. Let faculty, staff, and students know when you're performing. I'm not talking about Luke Switches. I'm talking about you. Okay. Grace Murphy is going to be performing a concert of her music this Sunday at Word of Grace Fellowship in Raytown. Here's the address, here's the time. Come support Grace. I think they'd be happy to send that information out, don't you? I'm surprised that people don't do that, actually. I'm surprised that people aren't doing concerts, but we do it with everything else that we do. So the sports stuff is promoted, the music stuff's promoted, the in-house music stuff, theater stuff's promoted. Hay Ride Night or whatever, the Hay Stack is promoted, and somebody's coming through town and whatever, that's promoted. I mean, everything else is promoted. Promote your concerts, promote your gigs. This is a great time, by the way, to be setting up your regular gigs, because you've got all of this built-in marketing. Send gig info to your mailing list. Make sure you're keeping your mailing list, building that list. Get permission to hang flyers at Calvary, Christian bookstores, coffee houses, Christian schools. Ask Christian radios to mention it. Metro Voice and KC Star have a place you can send the information. You don't have to talk to a human being. You can send the information to Metro Voice and Kansas City Star. You just go to their public events page. You type in the information, send it to them, and they'll post it in the paper, okay, for free. Also, there's
KC Star and Metro Voice?
Yeah, KC Star, Metro Voice, and then the one that Christina Light does, KC Parent, or KC Parents, which is an online magazine for kids, but Christina's a Christian, and it has a definite Christian undertone to it. I've already told you about that people want to help you. People want to be bird dogs. Once you get going, you will meet people who are bird dogs. People who will find you gigs because they like you and they want to see you succeed. Okay? And people who will say, hey, I know of 3 churches. I know the pastors of 3 churches. You should go talk to them. That will happen. And I already told you about one of the evidence singers who's handed $200 at a gig. Right? That stuff happens. Remember that? No. Okay. Don't be afraid to ask people for help. Don't be afraid to ask connected people for help. There are people that most folks will want to help you. If you're a Christian, definitely there are people that want to help you. There are connected people that want to help you. There are people that want to promote what you're doing. Ask fans to help you get the word out too. Hey, I'm doing a concert over here. Please help me get the word out to people to come and see me perform. Okay? Promote on Facebook, Twitter, your blog, the groups that you frequent. Remember, you're going to do posting every day on your blogs or on your groups, right? Right? You have a social media presence. We talked about that like 6 weeks ago. Ask musicians that you follow to let you know where they send their concert info, or see where they send their concert info and send your stuff to the same place. Stay organized, develop a procedure sheet. You'll be doing this over and over again. Have a procedure sheet. This is how we do gigs. You contact the church, then you do this far out. We talked about how far out you need to do this stuff. 3 weeks before you send a poster, 2 weeks before you call to confirm, 1 week before you do whatever, you get your updated bulletin in place. Have a procedure sheet, a tick sheet that you follow. So that every time you do a gig, you've got your notebook of your gigs, and you turn to the gig that you're doing at Word of Grace in 3 weeks. You have your Word of Grace tick sheet, and you go, okay, yeah, I did that on this day, I did that on that day, and you're marking as you do these things that you're supposed to do. You're checking them off and marking the date you completed them. If you have 60 gigs, like we did with evidence,
Yeah.
or if you have 80 gigs, or if you even have 25 gigs a year, if you aren't keeping track of the details on a separate tick sheet for each gig, you will forget what you have done. So just do it, keep a notebook, it will organize your life, keeps it nice and simple. Treat your fans well and they will feel like they owe you something. They will promote your gigs and be willing to volunteer to help with promotions and other things. Treat your fans well. Okay, we're going to take a break here in a second. Image and graphic design. Start developing your look now. Your look, this is your brand. Your look is on your website, it's on your posters, it might be a logo, it's a type font, a font type that you're using, colors that you use, the picture that you use. Develop a brand. I'm trying to think of somebody.
The White Stripes.
White Stripes.
They have a definite,
Right.
definite brand.
Right. And also what you wear, okay? That becomes part of your brand.
King's Kaleidoscope too. You can.
Yep.
They're very easily identifiable.
Yep. And you don't have to wear the same thing to every gig, but wear the same type of thing to every gig,
Yeah.
okay? So that people know who you are, what you look like, there's no surprises, okay? So you develop your look, and of course you can get, there's a host of places. You can go online, crowd fulfillment or whatever, and have somebody design a logo for you. Hey, could somebody design a logo for me? Yeah, I'll do one for $15. Okay, great. And then you send them $15 through PadPal, and they send you back the logo, and you're all set. Find a photographer to do a headshot. You need color headshot and black and white headshot, right? Color headshot, black and white headshot.
Why?
Well, black and white for papers, right?
Newspaper.
And color for, like, if you print color bulletins, or you don't want to put I wouldn't put a black and white headshot on my web page. Web page is in color.
Does
I
it
would
have?
put a color headshot.
Does it have to be? Should it be a separate photo that they take, like specifically black and white, or could you just black and put it? Use the color photo in grayscale.
You need a photo that doesn't look like somebody snapped one of you during lunch with their cell phone. You need something more than that. You don't have to go spend $700 for a set of headshots from a professional photographer, but you need to get a good. Without going into it, you have to. Lighting is critical, okay, with a picture, and with normal picture taking, the background and the foreground and your face are all lit the same way, and you don't want that when you do a headshot. Okay, you want proper lighting for a headshot. So once you're rich and famous and making $1 gazillion a year, then you go spend $15,000 on headshots. That's fine. Annie Leibovitz can do your headshot. But when you're first starting out, get the best black and white and color picture that you can, so that you can send those out with your press kit. The color photo ends up on your web page. You know, and other photos do too. I mean, the photo of you in concert, the photo of you with the band.
That wasn't my question, though.
Yeah, but yes.
My question was, is it one picture color and one picture black and white, or is it one picture color and then you grayscale it to get the black and white?
You can do that if it's a good black and white. Normally, when you take a black and white, and I'm telling you this as a former photographer, when you take a black and white picture, there's a different aesthetic than a color picture.
Okay.
Okay, so it could be the same picture,
Yeah.
but don't be surprised if it isn't.
Okay.
It does. The
I
important thing is that you get a decent picture.
Right. I'm just curious because I'm getting pictures taken
Good.
soon.
Yeah. Yeah. It could be grayscale. it just depends on the, I don't know, I would light a black and white picture differently than I would light a color picture, but anyway, that's me. Making and selling great merchandise, 358, chapter 22. Won't go over it. Let's take a break. Come back at, I have 2:16. Come back at 2:30. That gives you 14 minutes. Dun dun dun.
Well,
Yeah, maybe we'll cover everything.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I'm playing a gig this in 2 weeks. I'm not the name on the ticket. I'm a guitarist.
Mhm.
How can I leverage that to my advantage?
Have somebody take some pictures of you playing,
Yeah.
and just make sure they're taking pictures of you,
Uh-huh.
because nobody knows what the venue is, right?
Right, yeah.
So make sure you get those pictures. Anywhere where you can leverage up the people that you're playing with, are the people you're playing with, is those connected with the folks that are doing your recording?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, see if they can give you some connections to the, what venue is this? Is it a church or a
I
bar?
actually don't know. It may be
Is it Christian? Is it a Christian venue?
that's the only kind he books.
Okay,
So
then definitely say, now, I'm glad I get to play with you guys. Can you make an intro for me? Give me an intro. I mean, that's a slam dunk.
okay.
Because you're paying them money to make your recording.
Right.
They've heard your music.
Right.
Do they like your music?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they like
Good.
my music.
And they think enough of you as a player that they're asking you to come and play their gig.
Yeah, I know. I'm blown away, but
Oh, okay, so why not ask them for an introduction to the person who books
it.
them,
Yeah.
and have them book you?
Yeah. Okay.
Have them make the introduction. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, is that something you want to do? Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll be back. Yeah, it says it's recording. It's good. Well, I know I'm throwing a bunch at you.
So far, my fingers can keep up. So
Okay.
far.
Okay.
Tired.
Just a little bit.
somebody stole it.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
Had that happen once. Okay.
In the home stretch, 45 minutes here.
Woo. Oh. Well, and then you've got another class, right? Or a lesson.
I have, right after this, I have a meeting. Then I have a lesson. Then I have another meeting. And then I have my last class.
That's a little bit there for, or a lot for the next bit.
Till 8:15. Have a 15-minute break between now and 8:15.
Yikes.
But it's a home stretch for us.
Home stretch for you guys.
Yeah. I don't know, after this week, my life gets crazy
Yeah.
with Cover days.
It's gonna get easier.
Oh,
I think
No.
you're talking about after the music.
after the musical. This week is dress rehearsals and stuff. Next week is performance week and Calvary days and Expo Chess and a bunch of sound stuff for Calvary days. And it's literally all blacked out to the hour.
My
So,
condolences.
it's great.
Okay, I'm going to get started here, and then, and if I'm going to plow through this next 2 pages of notes, a page and a half of notes, and then I'll leave it open. If we end a little early, I'll leave it open for questions. But then I do have a 3:15 appointment, so I do need a scanner. All right, creating a product. What is an EP?
EDP?
that's a
What's an LP?
long play,
Long play. And what's an EP?
extended
Extended.
play.
Extended play. So an extended play, an EP is a mini album, and it has usually 3 to 5 songs on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're doing an EP with 5 songs?
5 songs.
Yeah. So it's a good size. Regular album has how many songs?
Too well?
10 to 15, 9 to 15.
It's about 11, right?
Huh?
11 is the magic number. 11, 12.
Yeah, 11 or 12. So an EP might be, it could be 6 songs even, 3 to 6 songs, about half the size of an LP. Okay. All right. For the first time, you have access to the same markets that major record producers have access to, right? Which are things like SoundCloud and YouTube. Maybe not distribution in the store, but when was the last time any of you bought a CD in a store?
About 10
Picked
years
up
ago.
a Fleetwood Mac at Walmart.
Okay. Which Fleetwood Mac?
Rumors.
Yeah, okay.
Chris recommended it to me.
All right, good. So anyway, so they're still out there, but that's not how music's distributed anymore, right? So iTunes and you know the stuff that's out there. Okay, so you have access to the same markets, and you don't need permission from some major music company to put your music out there. Okay, which is very cool. The opportunities are really incredible right now. You do have to put out a quality product, so you keep working and honing your skills. Understand that the people that are producing music for regular big record companies with the big contracts, those folks aren't any better musicians than anybody in this room. Okay?
Really?
I mean, there's some exceptions. There are some people who are truly exceptional musicians, but a lot of people who are performing have passable music skills.
Great marketing skills.
And great marketing. I mean, it depends on what you're selling. So, I mean, you've all heard YouTube. You've all seen the YouTube videos of major artists where they've recorded them live singing. When a major artist does a concert, usually they're lip syncing to their album.
travesty.
but they're still recording what they're doing. Because the guy at the soundboard can always open their mic back into the soundboard and hit a button and record their singing.
Yeah.
You know that.
Okay.
And there's some of those are posted on YouTube, so you can see some of these major artists trying to sing through their stuff, and they're, you know, there's a recording of the guy from Lincoln Park that actually ended up killing himself.
Yeah.
There's a recording of him actually making producing one of their songs, and the guy was actually had a recording studio off of his house, the engineer. And the recording engineer is the one that's actually producing the song and fixing the guy's vocals, which are horrid. And he's pulling him in, he's singing out of tune, he's screaming, and he's singing out of tune. And the guy pulls it in, fixes the intonation with the computer, reworks it, and turns it into Lincoln Park. And so I'm just saying, as far as I know, you all sing in tune. So, you already have the level of performance skills that you need to perform. But hone your skills, get better and better and better. Okay. When the Beatles started out, right, Paul McCartney was 15 when he joined the Beatles,
I think so.
right? And so he 16, was he? Oh, 15 or 16, whatever.
Yeah.
He's a young kid. So they got better as they went along, but they were recording right at the beginning. Write a great song, and this is creating your product. Write a great song and tweak it until it's what you want it to be. Then record it. Don't go into a recording studio thinking you're going to work on your song and tweak it. If you do that, you're going to spend a ton of money doing stuff that you should have done before you hit the per hour fees of a recording studio. Do all that before you get to the recording studio.
Yeah.
No reason to do demos. No one cares about your demos. Produce the best song you possibly can produce. Write more songs than you can release, and release your best songs. Right? Write a bunch of stuff and take your best stuff. Don't think the old days of, okay, I have 2 great songs, I'm doing an LP, I have 2 great songs, and now I have to create a bunch of filler to put on the rest of the album. Those days are over. Don't do that. Write great stuff, and then take the best of your great stuff and record that. Only record the best stuff. It's better to record one great EP than to load up an LP with mediocre stuff. Okay? I think I mentioned it to you guys. When I apprenticed with a photographer one time, and I said, what's the secret to being a great photographer? And he said, take a lot of pictures and throw 95% of them away. He said, destroy them, don't keep them. And he said, the best photographers take tons, this is back before digital photography. Photography is very expensive because film was expensive and processing was expensive. He said, I take hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of photos and only keep the best 3 or 4 or 5 of them. And he said, and then what happens is people think I only take great pictures. But the truth is most of my pictures aren't very good. I just keep the great ones. My nephew, my wife's sister's son, who's 30-something, 32, 33 years old, is majored in German in college. And then went on, picked up a camera, started taking pictures. He's flown all over the world, and for 2019, had one of the best images of the year.
What was it?
I saw it. It was. Let me see if I can find it.
What's the guy's name?
Paul Ricci. Photography. Okay, so this guy is not even a trained photographer, but he's gotten really good at it. Where's Paul? There's Paul. Can't really tell. So, it says photojournalism in foreign languages. That's German. And he's taking pictures. What was it? It's probably on here someplace.
Hmm.
Does it work? I don't know. I thought it'd say right up front what it was, but
Crossing the line. I bet this is about our southern border.
okay. But this is, and I've never been to his website, so.
So let's almost get on this.
Oh, he's doing a bunch of stuff on the border. My wife's from Mesilla, New Mexico, and matter of fact, I lived there for 15 years, and he. Oh, how do you, if you're a photographer, how do you sell your pictures? That's Paul. How do you sell your pictures? You go to stock photo places, and you load them up, and people buy them. So that's his work. Yeah, you need a drummer. I got one for you.
Oh. He's perfect.
That gives you an idea of his work. Okay, so there's Paul, and he's complaining he doesn't make any money. So his photography is horrible. Everybody's a photographer now.
Yep.
But he had one of the images of the year for 2019. I have to find it. Sure. But it's because he takes a ton of pictures, and he markets. You know, still doesn't make any money, but that's right. Okay, before you ever walk into a recording studio, do all your experimentation, and do a lot of experimentation. Work out your ideas for your songs. You know, you can set up a home studio for practically nothing. Work off that home studio, work. Then you can go out and, when you finally get it tweaked to where you want it, then go to a recording studio. As far as digital audio workstations, Pro Tools is the industry standard.
Yeah.
There are other cheaper and easier DAWs to learn. Digital audio workstation. Reaper, Logic, Pro Tools LE, those are all possibilities. GarageBand probably isn't going to cut it. Okay, but if you're familiar with GarageBand, you should be able to do Logic without any trouble. Basically, same program, just higher level. There's a difference between a producer and an engineer. The producer is getting the most effective performance out of you. The engineer is handling the technical stuff. Okay? You need both of those to do a recording. Can be the same person, but generally they're two different people. There's a lot of information in here on having a professional recording made. It's chapter 10. It's worthwhile reading through it, because at some point, if you do 2 gigs in the next year and then you're done, you don't need it. But if you start doing 40 or 50 or 60 gigs a year in churches, if you're just doing 30 or 40, if you're doing 30 gigs a year in churches, at some point you need to go get a recording made. Okay. Licensing your music. There are movies and other indie movies, not-for-profit movies, use music all the time. And they're looking for, and it's expensive to get a Beatles tune and stick it in a movie. It costs a ton of money. So they're looking for music for all sorts of things, maybe even for backgrounds, for commercials, things like that. Mm-hmm. Have a high-quality version of your music, not a YouTube version, a high-quality version of your music, ready to go at a moment's notice. Have an instrumental version of that music. If you've ever noticed a commercial, and they'll start with the song, and then they do the voiceover, and they have the same song, but they don't have the words with it, right? So have an instrumental version. That's easy to do in a recording studio. You just take the voice out. Have your contact and phone on everything where you post. SoundCloud, Hype Machine, YouTube. People are looking everywhere for music to license. Okay. Make sure you have a high quality master. I've already said that. If somebody calls you up and says, we want to license your song for a commercial, don't bicker with them. If you try to play hardball with them money wise, they'll just go on to the next person. They're usually under a pretty tight budget, They'll say, hey, we want a license, hey Martine, you have a song on SoundCloud. We'd like to use that in a commercial, or we'd like to use that in our Christian movie coming up. And we'd like to give you $150 for non-exclusive rights to use it. Sure, great. And the thing, next words out of your mouth, sure, great, yeah, I'd love to have it.
Yeah.
Launches your international career, obviously.
Sure.
Okay, so try to get your, go for it. Have a strong social media presence. That's how you're going to get licensed. It allows users to access your song, cross-market it to different audiences. Keep it simple. Creative directors just need the song. They don't need your press kit. So if they call you up and say, I want your song, say, great, I will send you. They don't need the press kit. They do need your contact information. Send them a high-quality master. You should get, after you have your EP done, they should be able to give you probably the master recording, right? Master
Absolutely.
files. Okay, so you make sure you have a high quality of that, and that you can send off. Impressions matter. Make sure that if a Christian movie is being made and they want to market, they want to access your song and stick it in the movie, they're going to go to your Facebook page and they're going to see what kind of person you are, because they don't want somebody who's a perv, taking their music, sticking it in their movie, or you're a nutcase, or you're posting that anybody who supports Donald Trump should be shot, or anybody who doesn't support Donald Trump should be shot. Protect your image. I wouldn't even worry about I wouldn't bring politics into it.
Sure.
Impressions matter. Okay, the company wants to use your music, but they also want to make sure that if they're cross-marketing you as a person, that they don't have to be embarrassed by stuff you posted on social media. But that should go, look, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I said to you in a general recital or in a department chapel, I said, be careful what you put on social media. It will follow you the rest of your life. Worth repeating now. Be careful what you put on social media. Nobody cares that you're mad at somebody. Nobody cares that you're whatever. Nobody cares that you're a non-this or whatever that. Don't post that stuff on social media. Exclusive versus non-exclusive rights. Usually people are asking for non-exclusive rights. They'll ask for both. Exclusive rights say, Grace, I want to use your song. I want exclusive rights to this song that you have. Well, when you do that, you're selling them the exclusive rights to the song. Nobody else can use that. So if they're going to do, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying that if you do that, make sure that they pay you a lot for it. Okay, so exclusive rights, you need to be paid for. Okay?
What if it's
Yes.
like an opportunity, like you had mentioned earlier, and it's something that would really further your career? They don't give you a lot of money for it, but it's huge.
If they want exclusive rights, then what you need to do is say, okay, and then you need to make a choice. But if it could be the thing that launches your career, maybe you give that song away. You do understand that Taylor Swift has music she can't perform because somebody else owns it.
Yep.
Right? She wrote the song. She
Yeah.
wrote the song, and she can't perform it because somebody else owns the rights to it. She sold the rights off.
The Big Machine label group really screwed it over.
She didn't have to sell the rights. She made the choice. Right?
Sure.
Okay,
I mean,
yeah.
It was her choice. She could have sold it or not sold it.
She didn't have to sell the rights to her song.
No,
Exclusive
she-
rights.
She screwed up and gave all her music to Big Machine.
Big
I'll
Machine, is that
understand.
what it's called?
That's her label group.
Yeah. So, that happens, right?
I
Question.
was just gonna ask, you kind of answered it. So exclusive rights, if you sell those off, it's not even your song anymore. It's theirs.
Well, they can have exclusive rights to, you may keep the right to perform the song, but they may have the right for everything else. But exclusive rights means you're selling them the right to use the song and you won't sell it to anybody else. Okay, so and exclusive rights might come up, they want to use it for a marketing campaign, for instance, or they're going to use it for, Bots Radio calls up and says, we're doing a new logo, an on-air logo. We want to use your song as the intro for that, but we want exclusive rights because we don't want anybody else using it. You know, okay. You know,
But
I'm
so
not
it
saying
doesn't.
don't do it. I'm just saying be careful.
So it doesn't mean that you won't be able to perform your song anymore.
It depends on what the contract says.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It could be that you can't perform the song anymore.
Okay.
Okay, as Taylor Swift.
But it doesn't always mean that.
It's whatever
Depends on
the
the
whatever the
contract.
contract says.
Okay. Depends on the contract.
Page 670, 674 has companies that will help you market your music, license your music. They're going to keep a large share of it. I think they end up giving you 35% of it. But you get the music promoted, okay? So that's something to think about.
They keep a large share of what?
They keep a large share of the fee. So if they take your song and sell it for $300,
Okay.
they're going to send you probably 100 of it. They're going to keep the other 200.
Okay.
But getting 100 of something is a lot better than keeping 100% of nothing.
Yeah.
All right. So licensing for films, like I say, in our case, with religious music, it's going to be indie films, nonprofit films, religious films. For those types of artistic endeavors, I would almost give it away for free, keep the rights, give the song away for free, because if the movie is a hit, again, you have instant
marketing.
you'll make it in elbow sales. Okay, this is Flywheel. You ever hear of the movie Flywheel?
Yeah.
Okay, so a guy by the name of Alex Kendrick is hired by a church to be their media minister, Sherwood Baptist Church. This is back in 2000, whatever. Alex Kendrick starts out as the media minister for Sherwood Baptist. He decides to make a film after a staff retreat. The staff has a retreat in 2001. They go to Disney World for their staff retreat. He's looking around saying, this is so excellent. Disney World everything's executed so well. Why can't the church do that? Why can't the church do things of excellence? And so he talks the church into funding a movie. He's going to make the movie, and he writes it, he produces it, he directs it, and he stars in it. So right away you're going to think, oh, this has got to be kind of corny. But they make a movie called Flywheel. Flywheel, and this is 2003. It's 2 years after he has the this epiphany at Walt Disney World. They released this film in 2003. Flywheel takes $20,000 to produce. Now, to produce a feature-length film for $20,000 is like unheard of. $20,000 barely gets you. I mean, if they had to rent the equipment, that would have taken $20,000. So everybody volunteered. Like I say, he wrote it, he directed it. I've seen the movie. It's actually pretty good. Flywheel goes on to make $37,000. Okay.
Wow.
$20,000 to produce it, $37,000 in theatrical release, and then it goes on to sell 300,000 DVDs. Now those DVD sales would have been somewhere between $3 and $5 million for this $20,000 film. It launched Alex Kendrick's career as a filmmaker, and last year he made Overcomer, which had a modest budget for movies. He's made a series of films, Cogwheel, Face the Giants. They're all these, and they're all Alex Kendrick movies. And so every couple of years he comes out with another one. So last year he made Overcomer, and each year he comes out with them, he spends a little more money making them. And it's all Sherwood Pictures is the name of the movie company, which is owned by the church. It's a Baptist church. Okay, so last year was Overcomer, $5 million to produce it, and it grossed $38 million in the theaters. So he's now producing first-rate, first-run films that are in movie theaters. And he's getting an IMDb ratings of like 6.8, 6.5, which are pretty decent for a movie. Yes?
Is that the same church, the Casting Crowns church?
I don't think it's casting crowns. You might want to check that.
Okay.
I don't know that that's casting crowns. Okay, so it might be. If you go to IMDb, Internet Movie Database, and you look up Flywheel, which is the first film, he also wrote the music. Okay, he's not a musician. He wrote the music for it. And so the guy produced everything on his own. Now, had you been around, had you been going to that church, and you said, hey, I'll do the music for you, okay, great. And doing the music successfully, you would have a full-time job right now doing music for Sherwood Pictures. The point is that there's stuff like this going on all over the place.
Sure.
So I want to make you aware of the shift that has happened in arts, that you don't have to have major producers, major studios. You can do stuff on your own and do quite well, okay? Now, here is how about this? 20 minus okay. Let's see if this is the correct one. Faith.com. Okay, so here's an interesting list I thought I would share with you. The 20 most influential worship leaders, worship pastors of all time. These guys started out as worship pastors, worship leaders. Michael W. Smith, you've heard of him.
Yep.
Chris Tomlin,
Mm-hmm.
Kerry,
Mm-hmm.
Matt,
Mm-hmm.
Bob Coughlin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Matt Redman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Meredith Andrews is on there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, David Crowder. Of course, he was a youth pastor. David Crowder was a youth pastor. Is a youth pastor, I think, still. Lincoln Brewster. I mean, look at these
Who's
guys.
that guy? Brenton Brown?
Really?
He wrote The Everlasting God?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's Brenton Brown. The Gettys, Keith Green. That's my generation.
Oh, yeah.
I like
Keith
his
Green.
name.
Donnie McClurkin. I think you talked about him.
Tommy Walker. Okay, so here are.
Brandon Heath, I've heard of.
Yeah.
Aaron Shoes. Paul Deloche, yeah.
Yeah.
Fernando Ortega, yeah.
Okay, those guys are all. We think of those guys as Christian artists, right? They're actually.
They're worship pastors.
They're worship pastors. They're all worship pastors, and that's Christian music flows, which is cool. Flows from the church. Why would I share this with you? Serve the church.
Amen.
If you serve the church, it's amazing what God will do to open. I'm not saying serve the church so you can promote your career. I'm saying serve the church. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
And serving the church, let God take care of those other details. But obviously, still need to promote. Okay.
Why not? Yeah.
But and all these guys have done that too.
Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna end with this. 678 to 680 talks about getting your music copyrighted. No, getting your music copyrighted doesn't mean writing the song, putting it in an envelope, and mailing it to your friend. That does not copyright your music. That is a myth. If you do that, your music's not copyrighted. You'll hear people say it. That's not how you do it. How to copyright your song or your album, and you need to. If you're releasing music, you better get it copyrighted. You get the form from the Electronic Copyright Office. That's copyright.gov. Copyright.gov. You get the form from the Electronic Copyright Office. You send in the completed form, a copy of your song or album in a WAV, MP3, or AIFF file with $35. That's how you do it. So you get a proper. Don't send a CD. Send in the files. $35, and $35 will cover a whole album if you have. So your EP will be covered for $35. Doesn't cost much. Get your music copyrighted. You need to copyright your work, or you may wake up one morning and somebody else is doing your song and they've copyrighted it. You understand, if you write a song you haven't copyrighted it, and Nathan decides to use it as an intro to his electronics thing,
Yep. And I copyright.
and he copyrights it, he owns the song. Because the proof of who owns the song is whoever owns the copyright.
Yep.
So make sure you copyright your music. Okay?
Wasn't there a company that copyrighted the birthday song or something like that?
Yes, Happy Birthday's copyrighted.
It was anyway. I think they.
Have they gotten rid of it? That's
Yeah.
good. They needed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time you were hearing Happy Birthday sung in a movie, Happy Birthday to you, someone's getting paid for the copyright. So, yeah, they claim to hold the copyright. But that's, yeah.
To the copyright office you send it?
You go to copyright.gov,
Yeah.
get the form, they'll send it to you, and they'll give you the information where to send it. $35 the last time I checked. Not enforcing your copyright can help your music spread. Gangnam Style, remember that one?
Oh yeah.
Okay, Gangnam Style, 110 million views. The reason on YouTube, the reason that got 110 million views is because, well, the guy's name is Psy, right?
Yep.
Psy didn't enforce his copyright. Does that make sense? Okay? He didn't enforce, he had it copyrighted. He didn't enforce the copyright, which allowed for that thing to tear through, become viral. At the time, it was the number one most viewed song in history on YouTube. I don't know if it still is, but 110 million
close.
views, that's up there. Okay, so sometimes, you know, you don't, the reason people say, well, if it's on YouTube, it's not copyrighted, right? No, there's a ton of stuff on YouTube that's copyrighted, tons of illegal music on copyright. YouTube is finally clamping down on it, which is why I can't go play a song
Yeah.
while the recorder's on.
Yeah.
Because YouTube will automatically kick it out and ding us. You get 3 strikes and they kick you off of YouTube. Okay, I think I mentioned that once upon a time, maybe last week.
Something.
So, don't do that. But the reason that music's on there are because the people with the copyright are not enforcing it so that the music becomes viral. It helps aid in the distribution. Okay, so just understand, sometimes you do that. What is a cover?
It's where you you perform somebody else's song
You perform someone else's song.
with, do you have to have permission, I guess?
Yep.
Yeah. You have to have permission to record and distribute someone else's music. Usually you can perform someone's song live in a church, because the church probably has permission.
Yeah.
Church has CCLI license. Okay, so you can do it under the church's license. Okay? So that's not a problem. But if you're going to record it and distribute it, whether you charge for it or not, you have to have permission. Okay? We're going to talk briefly about that. We'll go more into it in the next class.
I thought this was the last class.
Music business.
Oh, okay.
You must get permission to record and distribute someone else's music, whether you charge for it or not. You get this by writing to the publisher, the copyright holder. At the bottom of every piece of music, you have the copyright holder, right? That's who you write to get permission. Performing is not a problem. I already said that. Doing a cover on YouTube is easier. Okay, covering your music and recording it on a CD or an extended play or whatever, that you have to have written permission from the copyright owner. YouTube, you don't have to. YouTube, you have to get permission, but you get permission from Louder, LOUDR.com, or from Affordable Song Licensing. They're going to charge you $10 to $15, and that's how you get you singing a Getty song on YouTube. So for 10 or 15 bucks, you can get copyright permission. Louder.com, it's in here, 678, 680, in here. Louder.com or Affordable Song Licensing. That's for YouTube only. For publishing your own music, we'll talk about that. The 3 big publishing companies are ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC. Calvary has a license for all 3 of those because we have to have it because we do music around it. Harry Fox Agency is someone who collects mechanical royalties. They work in conjunction with ASCAP, BMI, and CSAP. So it works like this. If we decide to do a Lux Voces recording, and you're going to do a Lux Voces rendition of current popular Christian songs, we can go to Harry, and this is what we would have done when we were talking about Lux Voces last year, doing a recording. You go to Harry Fox Agency, and you write to them and say, I want mechanical royalties, that is, I want to reproduce this music, we want to perform this music on a CD, and Harry Fox can oversee the rights to place that music on your CD. We were thinking about doing it with evidence. Calvary has done it in the past. Calvary always used, my predecessor used Harry Fox. They did a recording maybe 20 years ago, and I think they were paying $35 a song then for the rights to release a CD, 1,000 CDs. You pay based on the number of CDs you're going to print. Okay. So, but it's not cheap. I mean, if you do 1,000 CD run now and you put 5 or 6 songs on it, it might cost you $500 or $600 now to get mechanical rights to perform someone else's music on your CD. If it's public domain, there's no charge, right?
Yeah.
Anything's been around for over 75 years after the death of the creator, that's free game. So if somebody's been dead 75 years, pretty much you can record their music. Probably don't want to, but you could if you wanted. Okay. So Cole Porter, you can go do Cole Porter. I think Gershwin you can. That's fine. You can do a Gershwin CD. Questions? I'm done with my notes. I'm done with class. So, questions?
What were the pages for what you're talking about? You said 678.
678 to 680. Other questions?
Is this the same classroom for music business?
That question's been asked today. You'll have to come back and review the tape. Joking, I don't know.
What?
I don't know.
Okay, I was like, wait, what?
If it isn't, I'll try to get it moved over here.
Okay.
If you come in here and nobody's here next week, let's see.
Monday.
It's on Mondays.
Yeah.
It's on Mondays. Okay.
Next week?
Yep.
No way, really? Okay.
Mondays.
We're not even skipping a beat, are we?
No. 6
Wow.
days away.
Going right
6
into
days
it.
away. And it's the same. I just looked and somebody must have just added this because we had 3 people.
I did have it.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Cool.
So it's the same group going on, which is cool. So
That's
we
nice.
just continue the conversations.
Man,
And,
whole 6 days, I'm gonna have to miss you all.
yeah. And then I'm doing worship literature. You're in worship literature.
Yep. I'm a worship lit.
You're the only in-class person in worship literature.
What?
Yeah. So it'll be you and I having a conversation.
The only one
I have a bunch of other
that's
people. They're all online.
Wow. Well.
I don't know. Maybe I'll.
To bring my A
I
game.
don't really. We'll see what happens. Okay, we're done. Any other questions? Questions about anything?
Anything?